Sex addiction, for me, that came in the form of unprotected sex with people I did not know. You know, I wouldn't be able to pick them out of a lineup now. I knew something was wrong with me for years, but I didn't know what it was. I really felt alone and lost, and I became hopeless. Addiction is a genetic brain disease. It's hereditary, passed down through generations. I was born an addict. Every addict is born an addict. It's just whether or not that is going to be triggered into active acting out.
For years, Jace struggled with an addiction with no clear understanding of what had caused it.
Sex addiction is really confusing for a lot of people, even those of us in it. It has nothing to do with sex. Now that I look back, I can see how gradual it was. In the beginning, that was more like fantasy and masturbation. Mind you, I was like 5. I was imagining like all of my favorite cartoon characters having sex with one another. I didn't understand why at the time. Over the years, pornography played a huge part in my addiction. Infidelity was a big part. I didn't understand boundaries. I had no intimate or emotional connection with sex at all. Later in my addiction, it had to be more dangerous, more risky, more painful. For me, sex almost never felt good. I was using my behavior to not even feel better, but to just be numb from the pain that I was feeling. When I first started having, I guess they're kind of like flashbacks, they were really vague. I knew my dad had gone through abuse. He had told us about abuse in his childhood, physical abuse, emotional abuse. My parents had been divorced my whole life, and I wasn't really in my dad's care until about 4. And then we started going on like vacation to stay at his house. So at first, he would have me watch pornography with him. And then it transitioned to acting out the scenes. You know, like the people on the TV, like it was a cool thing. And I can remember just staring at the door, hoping that the light would turn on, that one of my sisters would come. But they never did. And I don't remember him telling me, but I knew I wasn't allowed to cry either. And so I just had to be there and take it, and I never told anybody. And I would just wake up the next morning and pretend like nothing happened. And it's weird because you think that then I would hate my dad. But kids don't. That's my protector. That's somebody I trusted. And I still loved him. All of that stuff I repressed. The worst part is that when it stopped with no explanation. And so all of a sudden, I was not worthy anymore. I wasn't special anymore. And I'm glad, obviously, that it stopped. But I would spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy again. And I was taught at 5 that my worth came from what someone could take from my body. And I continued thinking that and believing it. I wasn't in healthy relationships. I didn't think I was worth anything. And so I felt I had to make it really, really easy for them in order to have them be with me. So when I was at a point of suicide, it wasn't that I was in all these crazy behaviors, it was that I was completely isolated and shut off entirely. It was really, really dark.
It was during her darkest moment that Jace finally sought help and went to a group meeting for addicts. It was at this point that she started working towards putting her addiction behind her.
So I decided that I was gonna stop having sex and start learning about it. And I figured I probably shouldn't put myself back in that situation until I could do it in a healthy way. So I started my project Suddenly Celibate and spent the next couple of years going around the US and talking to different experts in the field of addiction and specialists in sex addiction, learning a lot about healthy sexuality and everything in between. I am Jace. I am a sex addict. I am imperfect, and I'm proud. And so I initially had a vow of being celibate. It wasn't until after a year of being sober that I started dating William. And it was a few months into our relationship where I decided to end my celibacy.
Regardless of what she'd experienced in the past, I only knew her up to the point that I met her. I met with somebody that I truly cared for. Everybody has issues in their life, and just like everybody, I stumble and I pick myself up, brush myself off, and keep on trying. As long as both of us are willing to strive for betterment in ourselves, then the relationship works itself out naturally.
We have an extraordinary relationship as well.
And having fun is pretty good too.
Addiction is a helpless, hopeless, sad and dark world, and that's true. It's really a place of powerlessness where your life is chaos all of the time. It's terrible, but there's a flip side. You're not doomed to this dismal, scary, chaotic life forever. In going into recovery, I'm going from feeling completely hopeless and alone in the dark. Now I live with enthusiasm. I've come to learn I'm not a terrible person. I'm actually a really good person with a whole lot of stuff I needed to work through. I've recognized that my real passion lies in helping other people get through any type of adversity. Now I work as a self-development coach and help really amazing people who are ready to say, yes, these things have happened. Yes, I made bad choices, or choices were made for me or put on me. I don't want that life. That's not who I am. I want more. I want better. I can be more. And I'm like, heck yeah, you can, and I will help you get there.